SeatGeek is a proud sponsor of the Marble League. With a slight bit of trepidation, competitors enter the second event of the Marble League Showdown, the Collision. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Greg Woods. This was an event that we already saw in the main Marble League, but the JMRC has decided to change things up just a little bit. Now, for ease of scoring and ease on the commentator, the marbles remaining in the arena will be counted. They still have to avoid getting knocked off, and they still have to avoid each other knocking each other off. Down they come, you kind of get the gist of it. And there you see. 4-2 will be our score in this case. Unlike in the last one where it was the marbles that went off the board, counting for the other team. Also unique in this one, we did not have any of the trap marbles, those big ball bearings. We didn't have any of those sent. And the newcomers, the Hornets, get the win 4-2 over the Shining Swarm. The Swarm have failed to qualify for the last two Marble Leagues. Cobalts and the Hornets in match 2 of 3. All bunched together in a 2-3 with the Hornets. Ooh, and they avoid a couple of the ball bearings. Watch those on the top side. It's not going to get them. Good job getting out of the way. That will be a resounding victory. Hornets looking pretty good in this one. They come down in that 2-3 and those first two marbles splayed to the side and end up clearing things off for the back three to really keep up that momentum and knock the Cobalts off. Cobalts kind of going in that X formation, the 2-1-2. Did not work out very well. 1 remaining on the board for them, 4 for the newcomers. Oh, the stands abuzz with what could be going for the Hornets. They step aside for this one. Shining Swarm and the Cobalts. Match 3 of 3 in Group A. Another instance where none of the trap ball bearings are going to be sent. And it's going to be a tie. Actually, one of the Cobalts making it untouched all the way to the other side. You don't get any points for that. Maybe brownie points for style. That was a little bit off kilter for the Cobalts, in fact. 2-2. That's where it will stay. So looking at the standings, the top 2 will move on. Hornets and the Shining Swarm will advance. Into Group B, the Minty Maniacs and the Jawbreakers. 2 familiar teams, and a lot of chaos on the board. Nearly all of the traps being set, and the Minty Maniacs did not fare well at all. Jawbreakers, look at them staying clear of all of this, letting all of the contact go on the other side. How did they do this? Tight, bunched up formation, and that really fractured the Minty Maniacs off to the side. Ooh, one solid hit there, as you can see that Maniac flying off the board. Jawbreakers come away with the win, 4-1. Momo and the Minty Maniacs. All 5 of Momo out there, and people are quite excited to see that. How many are going to remain on the board at the end, though? That's the main thing that counts. Good to have Momo, and Nemo in there. How many of them actually stayed up on the board? They send a couple to the wayside and actually make it down to the other end of the board. That works out fairly well for them. Minty Maniacs, they keep that top line, then they fall back just a little bit. It wasn't organized in any particular shape of attack. That may have ended up hurting them a little bit. 2 ball bearings coming down late at the end, but the damage had already been done. Team Momo will get the victory. Team Momo was just 2 spots behind qualifying for this year's Marble League. Rack it up for match 3 of 3. Jawbreakers and Momo. They hit Jawbreakers. They've already lost a couple. 3 on the board remaining for each team. Actually, there's one teetering on the edge down here at the bottom that I missed, and also one hidden behind that slide. I think it's going to be 4-4. In all of that, each team only lost 1 marble. That's pretty impressive. Watch this Momo down here at the bottom. Just knocked the block out of the way and came to a screeching halt. Hanging on the edge. Woo! Don't breathe. Pretty solid points total. But not so much when the other team has exactly the same. Who advances? It's the Jawbreakers and it's Momo. The points differential making a difference in any case of ties in this event. So watch that far column if we get there. Limers and the Snowballs. Former hosts of the Winter Marble League. And I can tell you, the Oceanics, they can attest to how difficult being a host is. Spread off to the side. Limers had a couple immediately shoot off to the side. This will be the better angle. They come in almost a 2-2-1, do the Limers. They drop 3 off to the wayside, compared to just 1 for the Snowballs. 4-2 our final. Oh, and a marble from the stands has gotten on the arena, and they want to trip some of the ball bearings if they can. And they don't. Open out, there's the security coming after him. They will come and arrest the marble. Who, for whatever reason, wanted to take his turn at the most physical event there is. He was hoping almost to show his toughness or something, to try to get some of those ball bearings to come down after him. I think he was hoping that they would come rather than the security. This blue marble is right in the middle of the Limers run, and I think the Limers fans are not very happy. They're worried that that's going to mess up their preparation, especially because it was on their side. Turtle Sliders, can they take advantage of it? And not really. Tie match. That marble from the stands. Not what you want to see, being dragged in front of your team as they're trying to get mentally prepared for their next run. It doesn't end up hurting them necessarily as it ends in a tie, but obviously wins are going to be worth more, and that's what will help you advance. Turtle Sliders, the newcomers. I don't know if they have a hashtag yet. All right, they match up on the far side with the Snowballs. Turtle Sliders to the near side. And this time they're going to get brushed off. Snowballs will come away with a narrow win. Snowballs putting up that little arch of 3 marbles in front to try to knock them out. Actually, one snowball goes to the far side and ends up splitting all of them. That ends up being a pretty safe call as he just goes over to the ramp and sits there. So the Limers, that means, are eliminated with that win. -2 on the goal differential compared to -1. Oh, their fans are not very happy. SeatGeek is a proud sponsor of the Marble League. They are the best and easiest place to find tickets to your favorite events. Just use promo code JMR for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase. SeatGeek, life's an event, we have the tickets. On to Group D, Rojo Rollers and the Bumblebees. Bumblebees immediately drop 2 off through the same hole over on the upper right. They keep 2 on the board. Same thing with the Rojo Rollers. A couple of them just barreled right through those walls. Very clear 3-2 that developed for the Rojo Rollers. Kind of fell apart on impact. Oh my. Almost losing all of the marbles were the Bumblebees. One of them has that block dislodged, but not all the way down. Rojo Rollers come away with the win. Team Primary back together. No longer Team Momary. What can they do? Oh, they lose a couple through the gap. They just narrowly miss. One of the ball bearings streaking by them. They're going to hold on with 3 marbles apiece. Whew, it's split actually right by one of the Rojo Rollers as well. Rollers in a 2-2-1 with one of the marbles kind of drifting off to the side. That will end in a tie. Back for match 3 of 3. Bumblebees and Team Primary. Fairly solid impact sends them all off to the side. And it will be 3-3 again. That first match being very important. Look at how large those sections of wall were that were knocked down as these teams collided. What was the strategy here? 3-2 on the right, 3-2 on the left, actually. They were not quite squared up, and I think that caused more of the chaos than they intended. Oh, look at the bottom edge there. Oh, boy, spinning around in place and staying on the board makes a huge difference for Team Primary. Otherwise, they would have lost that one 3-2. And as a result, they advance. The Bumblebees, -1 on the points differential, drops behind them. That one spinning marble making all the difference. All right, now is when we start to get a little more serious. The quarterfinals, eliminations on the line. Quarterfinal A, Hornets to the far side, Turtle Sliders to the near. Decent impact, but a fairly slow ricochet. Turtle Sliders are going to manage to keep 3 on, but compared to the Hornets, 4, they're going to get the win. The Hornets keep marching along. I thought for a second they were maybe lining up for that O'Rangers-style spear. And then they drop back off a little bit. Good bounces off the walls for the Turtle Sliders. I thought they were going to hang on, but they'd already lost one too many. 4-3, the Hornets will move on. Jawbreakers in Team Primary. Down they come. There's a little bit more of that spear from Team Primary. Are they going to be able to hold on over on the far side? Yes, they will. They're only going to lose one compared to only one remaining for the Jawbreakers. That went about as well as you could imagine. Two of Team Primary just bumping up against the wall there, reminding them, yeah, we're here. Ended up in the right place at the right time, and I know goal differential is not a big one here, the points differential, but 4-1, that's a little bit of bragging rights moving on to the semis. Snowballs and the Shining Swarm. Shining Swarm are going to lose a couple snowballs, drop them off to the near side and the far, and it should be Shining Swarm. Two did not qualify in a row, and in this one, they're off to the semifinals. Modified 3-2 as they come down. As you saw on this side for the Snowballs, it did not work out well for them. Two ended up in their own side of the platform. Where did the rest go? Oh, that little bit of angle was just enough to send two of the Snowballs off to the side on glancing blows. Not even solid impacts. It's kind of tough when you're trying to put all your force forward and then the other team just angles on you slightly and end up sending you off the board. Rojo Rollers and Team Momo. Down they come. Momo, tight formation, and it all comes apart for them. 3-2. Rojo Rollers will move on. They're another team that's missed the last two Marble Leagues as well. Many of these were sacrificial right up at the start. And a couple of them, I think they had watched the previous heat and decided maybe if we can go in at an angle, that might work out fairly well. There's the angle set up from the Rojo Rollers, kind of angling from upper left down to lower right. And that ended up working out pretty well for them. Team Momo got hoodwinked a little bit as we now move to the semifinals. Who goes on for the championship? Team Primary to the near side, Hornets to the far. Stinger back behind. Will he play a part? Maybe gave a little bit of a push, but the Hornets, the newcomers, will stay alive. They're on to the finals. And maybe this team wants to emulate the Green Ducks as the newcomers who find success. Interesting to watch the spin of these marbles on impact. How many of them there were solid versus ones that ended up sending them rotating around pretty quick. Stinger at the back, giving that little push. I think ended up sending at least one of Team Primary off. Either way, it works out. A 2-marble win, 3-1. Now on to semifinal B, Shining Swarm and the Rojo Rollers. Two veterans, tight formation for the Shining Swarm. Trap marbles are sent. Glance off of one of the Rojo Rollers. Look at the Shining Swarm. They're retreating to the middle to make sure they don't go anywhere near those sides where the blocks are knocked down. And that strategy is going to work out pretty well for them until you realize there's one more of the Rojo Rollers still on. It's not going to matter. They do a good job of avoiding, but so do the Rojo Rollers, all going up into that upper right corner. A couple of double hits on him. Ooh, that one glance from the ball bearing actually ended up sending one of the Rojo Rollers back to the opening ramp. That protected them, and that should give them the win. And it does. 4-3. The Rojo Rollers are on to the final. Shining Swarm are off to compete for the bronze. Primary and Swarm. Ooh, another tight formation from the Shining Swarm. They like that. Is it going to work out for them this time? They've got 4 on compared to just 1. That will be a bronze to the Shining Swarm. You can't help but wonder how many of these teams watched the main event version of this and picked up pointers. It definitely looked like the Shining Swarm did. Bit of a 2-2-1 coming down for Team Primary. There's just so much force all tucked into that tight formation. Look at that, all bunched together, and that impact was able to send some of the Shining Swarm away from the chaos. 4-1, Shining Swarm, get the bronze. ready for the final. Who gets gold, Hornets or the Rojo Rollers? They almost miss each other in a couple of them, but look at all the ball bearings being sent. There's another one ricocheted off. Rojo Rollers trying to keep those several off to the near side. We'll look it out to the far as these ball bearings start creeping their way across. This could end up deciding the match if these two head for that one Hornet. No, it peels away. Oh, that's very odd. JMRC is actually going to look into that. That was very egregious. Almost changing of directions from those ball bearings. It was almost like they didn't want to hit that Hornet off the board. Usually these are neutral arbiters. And you can see that turn away from the Hornets. And they're going to say, all is fine. I imagine they checked the super slow-mos and they tried to see how those two ball bearings were interacting with each other. And they found that it was not a purposeful curve away to favor the Hornets. Although that one Hornet was perched on the bottom. And that is the final. That is the final. No redo, no changes. 4-3. The Rojo Rollers are your gold medalists. So close. It wouldn't have mattered either way had that one been knocked off, as that would have only been a bigger victory for the Rojo Rollers. Still, the Hornets happy to get second place. Pretty good silver medal for their credit. And the Shining Swarm happy to be back on a podium. Team Primary just misses out on the top three. Turtle Sliders come in front of Team Momo. How does that look? Rojo Rollers jump 5 spots up to second place. The Hornets hold on as we get ready for the funnels.